Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm glad you guys are here. So for this video I'm going to be telling you guys the second part, or I guess not second part, but my second miscarriage story. So basically it started out the same. My husband and I decided that Jaden needed a sibling. He was 2 at this time, and so we really thought it would be a perfect time to give him a sibling. So in June 2016 is when we started trying, although I didn't get pregnant until July, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I actually learned something from my first miscarriage. I actually took pregnancy tests. This time around I took two pregnancy tests the last 2 weeks of June. So we started trying the beginning of June, and then the 3rd week I took a pregnancy test, and obviously I wasn't pregnant. So then I tried another pregnancy test the last week of June, and still I wasn't pregnant. So we obviously kept trying, and then after that I didn't take any more pregnancy tests because I just hadn't gone around to the store to buy any, so I didn't have any at home. But July 15 came around, and we had never stopped trying, so we were still trying. A little part of me would always think, I'm pregnant, I'm pregnant, I'm pregnant. So I wouldn't do anything dumb or anything silly that might hurt the pregnancy or anything like that. So like I was saying, July 15 came around, and it was a normal day. It was noon. Yeah, it was around 11ish or noonish that I had to go to the restroom. So I went, and everything was fine. I wiped and everything was good. As I was getting up from the toilet, I felt cramp-like pains on my left side. And it started off very, very minimal, just like very minor cramps. And pretty instantly they progressed and they got really bad. And it wasn't even minutes, it was like seconds. So it was like nothing really, and then so much pain. The first thought that popped into my head was excitement, you know, because I was pregnant, is what I thought. So in my head I was super excited for a split second, and you know, I just kept thinking that I was pregnant, and instantly a switch went off, and I said, well, with all of this pain that I'm having, if I am pregnant, then it's more than likely an ectopic pregnancy if I'm having this pain. Now, I've never had that before, so I don't know really how painful it is, or if it even is painful, but I knew of ectopic pregnancy. And if you guys don't know what that is, it's basically the fertilized egg that is planted itself anywhere other than the uterine wall, which more than likely it'll be the fallopian tube. And if that pregnancy would have stayed in the fallopian tube, it's only so big, so the pregnancy would keep growing, and well, that wouldn't be good at all for mother and baby. So I'm pretty sure the only way that you could, I don't want to say take care of it, but take care of that problem, and I don't want to say problem either, I guess it is a problem, but would have been with surgery. That's all I kept thinking was, if I am pregnant, it's an ectopic pregnancy, which is why I'm in so much pain. I remember coming out of the restroom, and Jaden was in the living room, and I was hunched over because and I was pressing up against my side, my left side right here, right above my pelvic area. So I would press and like kind of hunch over, and that's how I was able to get to the living room. Because again, Jaden was only 2 at the time, and he still needed quite a lot of help with everything, so I needed to keep an eye on him. At this time I texted James, my husband, and I told him that I was in pain, and he I don't remember if he texted back or if he called me and said, well, you know what, I'm gonna come home. Which, even if I'm in the slightest pain, I don't really text him or anything like that. I don't really let him know. So this time I told him that I was in pain. So he was like, this is gonna be bad. So he came home, and my stubborn self, I still wasn't 100% sure that I was pregnant anyways. I kept telling myself that the pain would just probably go away. I just need a few minutes. So my husband was with Jaden while I was on the couch with pain, and I never took anything for the pill. I never took anything for the pain or anything like that. So I was just sitting on the couch, and finally 4 o'clock came around. So that's been like 4 hours already, because it was around noonish, or like 11 something or noon, when all of this happened. So at this time I needed to go tinkle, and I got up from the couch and I just felt so weak. I was kind of shaking a little bit, and I was extremely weak. I couldn't stand by myself, and I remember telling my husband, I was like bawling because I just felt so weak, and I said, I don't like feeling this way. And I kind of started falling down because I was so weak. I couldn't stand by myself. And he grabbed me, he carried me into the room. He carried me into the car, and Jaden was following behind us. My husband was like, come on Jaden, let's go, let's get in the car. So Jaden would follow us, and so we get to the emergency room, and at the triage they ask, you know, all those questions, how you're feeling, pain level, yada yada. And one of the questions was, are you pregnant, or could you be pregnant? And I'm like, you know, obviously I told them the truth. I'm not 100% if I am pregnant at this moment, but my husband and I have been trying. So I ended up having to go to the restroom, and this agonizing pain to pee in this little cup so they can take a pregnancy test, and it turned out that I was pregnant. So at this point, with the pain where it was towards my left, it was like right in my left ovary or something, you know, around that area. So the doctor who saw me pretty much said, it's an ectopic pregnancy, but we won't know for sure until we get in there, and you know, we'll see what we find. They took me to the room, and I just have to insert this in really quick. I was so proud of Jaden that day. He did everything we asked him to do. Jaden, come sit right here and don't move. He sat there and didn't move. Jaden, come follow mommy and daddy, and he followed us to the restroom, or you know, everything. I'm just so proud of Jaden. He's amazing. But anyways, he had to follow us into the room where they keep us in. But we called my mom, and she came into the emergency room where we were at, obviously, and she ended up taking care of Jaden, which he would have been great anyways. But I'm so grateful that, you know, she was there and she was able to watch him while James and I were going through this. And while we were on the way to the room, she was standing right there, and so that's when she took Jaden and all of that. The surgeon came in, and he was checking my pain, so he pressed a little bit on my left side, and that hurt pretty badly. And then he checked me internally, and I'm pretty sure he didn't even touch me that hard, but whatever he did, it hurt. I was in so much pain that, I don't know, I felt it all in my chest, and I felt like I couldn't breathe. I remember I was yelling, I was like, I can't breathe. But although obviously if you're speaking, you are breathing. Does that make sense? It just felt like I wasn't catching my breath at all. So when he went in, I can't really tell you. He probably just touched it barely, you know, the problem area. But it felt like I don't know. This is gonna be a little dramatic, but I don't, you know. It really felt like when he went in there, he like squeezed my pain and it just intensified it. But that's what it felt like. It was horrible. So after that, that's when he was telling me that with the pain and the pregnancy, it was probably an ectopic pregnancy. So at this time, they took me to get a sonogram to see how the pregnancy was and if it was an ectopic pregnancy. Although they did not find the pregnancy, is what they were telling me, that they couldn't find it. You know, I hadn't planned it itself, so I was very, very, very early, because they couldn't really tell me how far along I was. But what they did find, what they saw with the sonogram, was so much fluid, and that fluid was blood. Apparently I was bleeding internally for 4 hours, which is why I was so weak when I was trying to get up from the couch. So I went back to the room after the sonogram, and the doctor or surgeon was talking to me, and they said, you know, they couldn't find the pregnancy, but your levels say that you're pregnant. So if the pregnancy is good and healthy, we still have to check what that pain is, and we need to go in there and figure it out, because they couldn't figure out what the pain was, since they couldn't find the pregnancy you know, anywhere. So he told me that if the pregnancy was good, that because of the surgery would be too harsh for the pregnancy. It wouldn't continue. So my husband and I, he gave me a choice to have the surgery or not, because of what would happen to the pregnancy. So my husband and I talked about it, and obviously we chose that I got an operation. I was just in so much pain. I could not take it anymore. I was in excruciating pain. It was the worst pain I have ever felt. So we decided, obviously, on the surgery. In the recovery room, the surgeon came in and he explained what had happened. And apparently I had an ovarian cyst that ruptured, and the cyst was almost the size of my ovary. So that he said that he tried to fix as much as he could, but my ovary was not salvageable, so he had to take it all out. So I only have my right ovary. And then after that, you know, all I kept thinking was what the doctor had said before, that with surgery the pregnancy would not continue. So he came in and he told me that at that point I was still pregnant, and the miscarriage will happen naturally when I got home. He just couldn't tell me when it was gonna happen. Obviously, if it's natural, your body knows best. So I started crying at that point, because how do you just go home and wait? But I just assumed that it would kind of happen all at once while he was in there in the surgery. I went home and I started spotting a little bit, very little, and then the following day, so that was the second day I was home, again I was spotting very little. but I went to the restroom and I felt the same thing that I did with my first miscarriage. I just felt something come out, and I just knew what it was, and I just started bawling because of what had happened. I knew it was coming, but when it actually happens, it's just a different feeling, a different emotion, and I was very heartbroken. But with all of that being said, I can say that although my heart breaks knowing that that was my second miscarriage, I don't feel guilty with this one, because I had, you know, because the ovarian cyst rupturing was completely out of my control. And like I said towards the beginning, I actually learned something from my first miscarriage, and that was, you know, doing the pregnancy tests, which I was. So anyways, thank you guys for watching, and thank you for listening. And again, I want to put this out there: if you guys are going through this and you need somebody to listen, I will be here. Like I said in my previous videos, it helps to talk about it. It just lightens the burden a tiny bit, which feels good, you know. It feels pretty good to be able to talk about it and get through the whole story and have somebody listen. So I want to be that person for you guys if you're comfortable with it. So thank you again, and we'll see you in my next video.